All right, good afternoon. How's it going, DJ Devin? Thanks for dropping the link there. Can use you for folks to get in if they're in the chat here. And let's see, browser still. Get comfy here. Browser. All right, so welcome everyone. My name is Tim. For anybody that might be new, I go by Foamy Guy on GitHub and Discord. This is the Deep Dive, which is a weekly live stream program where we are diving into CircuitPython. It is most typically Scott, the lead developer of CircuitPython, that does this stream these days, but he is out for a couple of weeks, and so I am filling in here. So if you are new, though, and you don't know really what I'm talking about, let me take a minute to give you kind of the high-level summary of what's going on. So we're working on CircuitPython stuff here. CircuitPython is a version of Python that runs on tiny computers called microcontrollers. There's a bunch of pictures of those here. Basically, these are little devices. Most typically, they're going to plug into your computer with a USB drive. They'll show up like a plug in with a USB drive. Plug in with a USB cable, and then they'll show up like a USB drive on the computer. You open that drive, you modify a code.py file on there, and then when you save it, the microcomputer, the microcontroller, the computer that's on these little boards, will actually interpret and execute that Python code for you. So that's kind of the high level. Let me check something here real quick. The high level version of what's going on. Okay, let me do this also. There we go. It's an open source project, CircuitPython is, so anybody is allowed to make projects with it. Anybody is allowed even to make their own hardware and add support to CircuitPython for it. The company that pays for it, though, is Adafruit. This is their website, adafruit.com. So they're paying the team who works on the project. Scott, the lead developer, like I mentioned, as well as a couple other folks, are paid by Adafruit full-time to work on the project. And there are folks like me, a handful of us, who are paid to work on the project part-time, both doing codes and reviews and live streams like this one, plus projects and maintenance and all kinds of different stuff goes into it. So huge thank you, of course, to Adafruit. And if you want to help support CircuitPython, one of the ways you can do that is by just heading over to adafruit.com, purchase hardware from them. They manufacture hardware here in the US, based in New York is where they're at, and they have many of the microcontroller devices, like we talked about, that run CircuitPython. They also design and manufacture lots of different sort of plug-in modules that you can plug into your microcontroller to give it access to different stuff, different sensors, inputs, outputs, all kinds of nifty different things. So head over there, get yourself some toys. Thanks again to Adafruit for making all of this possible, and thanks to everybody who supports them by purchasing hardware. Let's see, how's it going, Beata, over in the YouTube? My friend, nice to see you. So today's, I did not mean to do that. Okay, 1 second, let me, one second, hold on, we need to get that back. Okay. Oh no. Oh, I just ruined my browser. This is also not the right one. Oh, I got it somehow. Wow, thank goodness. Okay, sorry, this is aside from the topic at hand, but I accidentally closed the wrong browser, which had a bunch of tabs that I kind of would like to keep open, so I'm trying to get it back open. was able to make it. And this, boy, this cat here is like running back and forth as fast as he can, tearing ass around. So hopefully he's gonna chill a little bit before we get too much further into this. Boards and add-ons galore in CircuitPython. Yeah, for sure. How's it going, Dexter? Nice to see you as well, my friend. And Deshipu too. Nice to see everybody. The specific topic at hand tonight is actually the same thing we worked on last week, if you happen to catch it, which is we were working on Circup, which is a command line utility. This is a utility that you can run on your PC, and it allows you to interact with a CircuitPython device. So if you have a microcontroller plugged into your PC, Circup will allow you to install libraries on that device, manage libraries. It's I always explain it kind of like pip. My goodness, kind of like pip, but for CircuitPython libraries instead of Python, like CPython libraries. You know, I never noticed before these little underlines right here. It's kind of interesting. It's like they got turned into a link, even though they aren't text. I wonder if there's like a space or something there. And so specifically within Circup, what we worked on last week was inside the WebWorkflow, adding support or enabling, implementing the code to make it so that it could use the --auto command. This is what we worked on last week. What we're going to do now is, based on feedback from Scott, thank you, Scott, for taking a look at this, try to refactor it to make, basically to prepare for BLE and also just kind of clean up the code a little bit. Because right now what we have is a bunch of places where there is effectively an if statement that's like, if they're using WebWorkflow, then do it this way. And I got a BRB, 1 second. Okay, just a cat climbing a window again. So there's a bunch of places where we kind of just end up with this logic if else, like if it is web workflow or if it is USB workflow, which is what I'll call it, kind of normal mode via the storage drive. And one thing I do want to do is actually just take a look through the changes here, honestly, because I have not actually just gone through and looked at the changes, which I'm gonna need to wrap my head around what all's there in order to be able to make the next set of changes, which is refactoring. Everything I've done so far, I just kind of poked and prodded my way through it without necessarily looking at the overall set of changes for this PR. I did some testing, and obviously we looked at the parts of the code that I changed, but I have not really looked for the rest. So what we're going to do is take a look at the old difference here. There should be a way to set a preference to keep tabs in memory if you close a browser window. I'll have to look into different settings. I ended up finding it because there was so inside history, there is reopen close tabs or something like that. Reopen close windows actually is the one I wanted. The weird thing was, though, there was two things listed in there. I tried them both and they were different windows. I have a problem with browsers and tabs. So those were different windows that had tabs that I didn't care about as much. But what it also had is one more button down at the very bottom that said reopen all windows. And the thing I ended up clicking was that reopen all windows. And even though there was nothing else in the list, it was an empty list, as in like there's no more recently closed windows, that reopen all actually opened the one I wanted with all the tabs. So yeah, thank you to Firefox for doing my tabs. And Crisis averted on that front. I think the Circup last week was targeting the ESP v2. It's not necessarily targeting specific boards. It's targeting WebWorkflow, which that is one of the boards that can use WebWorkflow. So yeah, the specific change we're making is enabling Circup to work with WebWorkflow. And that board is one of the boards that does use WebWorkflow. So one thing that's weird here, why is this a diff? I'm thinking we want to merge. Do we want to merge? When's the last time this merged? Wait, but there was no... There's no commits that exist in main. So we were already merged up. Why is that a difference then? That's weird. NitPy. Interesting. Is my main, maybe my local main is not up to date. Yeah, I think that might have been it. Let me close this and redo that. Okay, yeah. Okay, there we go. So we do have some new commits in main that are not in this branch yet. Doesn't look like there were conflicts. Let me double check that. If there were conflicts, then we'll go ahead and merge. Otherwise, I'll just leave it. Okay, yeah, there are not conflicts. Otherwise, it'd be red down here. Oh yeah, let me catch up on the chat too. Though any boards will be able to use it, especially useful for V2. Yeah, and ESP32 as well. Any of them that are web workflow. We do still show a difference there, which is I find odd because that's definitely unrelated to this. This actual like change, right? Like that change came from something else. That's another change that happened recently, but it's not really related to this PR. I'm not sure why diff shows up here, but that's fine. So TOML file requirements for, yeah, this is different as well. Yeah, we kind of have a lot of fixes that exist in WebWorkflow, but don't exist in main. Maybe I'm on the wrong side? Local code. I think this side actually is main, which I was looking at backwards. Okay. Okay. I think we do want to merge main just to make this easier, actually, because we have TOML, we have all this stuff, which is now going to show as differences. I'm not sure the versions for the 7 and the 8 there. I'm not sure why those are showing differences too, but so we want to definitely, I think this will happen automatically, but just superstitious. Let's fetch and then update and then merge main. And that goes automatic. So I'm just going to push merge only. And now we're going to look at the differences one more time. See if hopefully this is like down to stuff that's related to this change. No, not at all. Okay. I don't know why that's counting as a difference. That's super weird to me. Because like that's unrelated. And in fact, now that's should be here. Shouldn't even be a difference. Okay. You know what? I think we're going to skip the IDE for now and go back to GitHub because I think GitHub diff is going to be not as messed up. Well, it's not messed up. It just contains a bunch of irrelevant stuff, so it makes it harder to focus on the real stuff. Okay. We're inside of, but right, yeah, see, I don't really care for the GitHub way either because we can't see, I can't just easily see what function I'm inside of, which kind of bothers me as I'm trying to look through this. The module init is one place where we have if the scheme is HTTP or if it is, well, just else. So that's going to be, I guess, for files. Directories versus single files. Update HTTP, update the module. So this one, this file, this function is WebWorkflow specific. Update file, update the module. What does update mean, really? Like upload, like install, copy the file. So this is doing what? If self.file, install file, HTTP, bundle path. else. If not file, then delete the directory recursive first. URL, basic auth, delete, trace for status, install dir HTTP. If it's a file, then install file. Else, if it's a directory, then delete the directory and then install the directory. But which probably makes sense because file will overwrite the individual file. You run no risk of there being anything left over from the old one. But directory, it could be the case that a file got deleted in the library. And if you didn't do this step of deleting the whole directory when Circup ran, then it could install the new version, and you could still have that file that's technically supposed to be deleted. Okay, so just delete everything, and then install the directory. Update file, this one is for the local storage. We have install file, HTTP, install directory, HTTP. So I think these two functions will belong to our new class, because basically, I don't know if I actually said what we're aiming to refactor here, but we want to make these backend classes. So we want like web backend class or WebWorkflow backend, and then USB backend or USB workflow backend, and then ultimately could potentially branch into BLE as well. And what I'm thinking now is in this class will be what owns install file, HTTP, install dir, HTTP, and then the USB one will own, presumably there's install file, USB, install dir, USB, or whatever is analogous. Although you would think it would be right there, I guess. So maybe there's not. I don't know. We'll have to look into that. Find modules, device, URL to path, module. Get CircuitPython version. So here's one place where we have a difference as well. Get CircuitPython version. So I think what we'll do is our objects, our backend objects, our classes, they'll have get CircuitPython version, and then they'll do the correct one of these based on whichever type they are. And then they might as well own these private methods as well with these leading underscores here. Oh, this is weird. Oh, well, it's just not an else, I guess. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I prefer explicit elses. So get device versions, I think that's another one. Get device versions. So it will no longer have the if statement, but what it will have is there's two different ones of these backend classes, and they'll both have this function, get device versions. One of them will be this logic, and the other one will be this logic. Get modules. Same thing with get modules. Get modules. What is this? Get modules HTTP, get modules HTTP dir mods. What does that mean? Dir mods? Dir modules? What is that? I'm not sure what the name of that's for. So if it's a single library, library py file, replace. But if it's a directory folder, then recursively delete. Yeah, I've never seen a library have folders. Yeah, I didn't catch if it was recursive or not, but it definitely was deleting the directory. I don't think it will matter if it's... If you delete the top level one, I don't think it will matter if it's recursive, but I don't actually know. But to your other point, yeah, I'm not aware of any... I don't think I'm aware of any libraries that have multi-layer hierarchies either. I think only one depth is the... I don't know of any that go deeper than that. Modules, dir mods, directory mods, DM, requests. Okay, so this is definitely... So, okay, well, HTTP, of course, means that it's the web workflow. Directory mods. One thing that would be nice to do is add a doc string to this. Get modules HTTP dir mods. I'm going to put a to-do there right now. Okay, let's step through this too, because just like the to-do says, I don't actually, based on the name, I don't know exactly what this is meant to be doing. So we're taking authentication, directory mods, which is a list of modules, result, which is going to be a dictionary result for a dictionary for the result, which is weird. Why are we not returning the result, I wonder? URL is a URL of the device for DM in directory mods. So we're looping over our list. We're creating a URL for each one. We're sending a request to the URL. If we got an error, raise an exception, MPY false for entry in JSON. So we're expecting to get back JSON, which either has a list, or maybe this allows you to loop a dictionary too. I'm not sure. Entry name. Okay, name. So it's definitely a dictionary. So for each entry in the JSON, get the name of the entry if entry.getDirectory and the name ends with pi or the name ends with mpy. If it's not a directory, so we're looping over entries. If the current one we found is not a directory and it does end with pi or mpy. So did we find a Circup Python file, a Python or an mpy? And is it not a directory? So if that is all true, we go here, we say, set this to true if it's mpy, we send a request, we raise, we entry name rfind. Rfind dot, I don't know what that does. Rfind, I mean, it sounds like find from the right side. I don't know. That's going to be an index, I guess, with temp file, named temporary file, prefix, dash delete, blah, blah, as fp write content. So content we got back from our em request here. I might need to add print statements. We write the content into a temporary file. We set temp name equal to that. Metadata, extract metadata from temp name. I don't even know. That does os.remove temp name. Is temp name a file? It must be a file name, but then I don't know what this, if version in metadata, metadata path DM URL, result DM metadata. Break now if any of the submodules has a bad format. I mean, that part's simple enough, I guess. If result.get DM is none, result DM path MPY. Yeah, I don't know. I can't follow. I have no idea. We're looping over directory modules, but why and what are, and then we're sending a request to each one. We're writing it into a temporary file. To what end though? I don't get modules HTTP dir mods. I don't know. I'll have to put some prints in there. I think if I could see this, if I could see the value of this, and maybe entry, see the value of whatever got returned here, and see the value of each one of these, it will be easier to understand what this is supposed to do. Get modules HTTP single. Okay, so the difference here is pretty straightforward. Dir versus single. So whatever that's doing, this is doing it for single files instead of directories, which is still creating these temp files and writing the content. Extract metadata. Is it building a list of modules that are currently installed on the device? That might be it. But then why are we passing in a list? So maybe we pass in a list and it's returning the paths to all of them. That might be what it's doing. That might be it. This is awesome. I'm making various projects that will use WebWorkflow. Nice. Yeah, WebWorkflow is pretty sweet. Let me catch up here as well. See, do everything, which is a nightmare if there's a ton of folders and folders. Yeah. Deleting non-empty directory, maybe that's what I'm thinking of. In Linux, it won't let you allow you to do it. I gotcha. Yeah, I don't know how it treats it on CircuitPython. That's my guess right now. Is we give it a list of like module names, and then it's giving us back a list of paths. I mean, it's a dictionary, so it's not a list anymore, but it's giving us back all those modules, the path to them, if we found it. That's my guess. Get modules file, get a dictionary containing metadata about all the Python modules found in the referenced path. Okay, so that's probably the USB version of what one of those is doing, pretty much. Okay, see, now we have one of these jumps, which makes it really hard to follow. Okay, so now we're inside install module. And this is another function where it will exist on both ones. The different logic will exist in each backend. Install module MPY. This is going to be another one. There's schemes right here. That's kind of our logic breakpoint. Install module pi. Libraries from imports. Context is not none using WebWorkflow. Yeah. Libraries from imports. So what this one does is it reads a Python code file and it gives you a list of libraries that Python code file requires based on the imports that it finds in the code. And this is another one where there's different logic for WebWorkflow and USB. Okay, and I think we're close to the end here. Get device path. If path, if elif host. I wonder if this will work on Windows. We should have somebody test this on Windows. If anybody who's watching uses Windows and is like interested in testing this out for me, I'd be super appreciative to have someone test this PR version in Windows. Could we find a VM to use somehow? I don't really have a Windows. Well, that's not true, actually. I can reboot into Windows. Dual boot action. I haven't done it for a minute, but I guess we could. I mean, not on the stream here right now, because I'm streaming from the Linux side of the dual boot, but... What is this? Get device path. Okay, so it does... Get device path. I mean, yeah, I think... I mean, this is another one where it's gonna... I mean, this one might be USB only, or vice versa, rather. It might be web only. Well, no, it can't be, right? Because this is USB. Yeah, this is another one where, yeah, it will belong to each of those backend classes, and its different logic will live in the two different ones. Same thing here. Basically, everywhere where we have this, if it's WebWorkflow, do it this way. If it's USB, do it that way. We're trying to get rid of and put all of that into... you know, web workflow backend, USB workflow backend. Okay, and then these will go as well. Uninstall. Okay. Oh yeah, I almost want to like. I think I'm gonna start another new branch. I don't want to just like this is gonna be a relatively major refactor. I don't want to just. I don't think I want to just wreck this one in case it goes south. I think I want to make a new branch, and then we'll either merge it back to this, or we will open a new PR with the new branch, one of the two. I'm going to go new branch from WebWorkflow. I'm going to just go WebWorkflow refactor. Would require a make build with the PR. I'm horrible at that. Would it require a make? I don't think. I don't think that it would require to make. I don't think that it would require to make anything. The easiest way that I know how to test it is with a pip install. It would be basically cloning the branch that this is on, and then going inside that directory that it's in and doing a pip install space dot, or yeah, just dot, I think, for like current directory. And then what it'll do is it will install it as a package, but it'll install it from that repo, from that local clone, rather than from PyPy's, web server where it would normally get it from. And then afterwards, you could always go pip uninstall Circup to get rid of that test version from this, and do pip install Circup like normal to get it from PyPy. Yeah, I think that's probably the easiest way. There's a couple of different ways that you could do it. I think that's the easiest way that I can think of. If you're interested in more specific steps, let me know, and I can show you. And while we're doing that, we have refactor, so we're going to finally start coding. Yeah, sorry, there was a lot of reviewing, looking at code, but we are finally ready to jump in. One question is, do we want to just put this in the same file, or do we want to start really breaking this out? So what do we have? Right now we have bundle and module, and then we just have a million helper functions is kind of our structure right now, right? There's like a collapse all, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do it. I'm pretty sure there is a collapse all. I think that's our structure right now, though. We pretty much have bundle, we have module, and then we just have loads of helper functions. Or not, I'm not even like making a dent in this. I shouldn't do this. PyCharm collapse all, PyCharm collapse all. Folder unfolds the current code using a single method to expand all control. Shift. I'm not doing that. I don't really have a numpad in the traditional sense. I don't use the numpad that I do have. What we can do is go class space bundle. Okay, only two. So we have our two classes, and then we just have a boatload of functions. And they're both in here, and there are no other. Oh, this is interesting. There's a JSON file with it. Does this get installed via pip? That does. That was a question somebody was asking about the other day. Over my head, the extent of Python using extent of my Python is using ESP tool. Don't even have Circup. I gotcha. I'll show you here. I'll show you here in a little bit. Make a new VM. Yeah, definitely good advice with that as well. New VM instead of doing it in your main one. Why do we have all of these? I don't know. I kind of get the sense that there's a reason why these are currently in the same file rather than separated. So I think I'm inclined to just add the new stuff to this file as well. So we're thinking class web backend, which is not really going to extend anything. Figure out later. It's going to require some arguments like, I don't know for sure what, but the password, probably the host or whatever it's called for the URL to it, probably a couple other things. Class USB backend. Okay, yeah, this is gonna get really messy too in the refactor. So install file HTTP. That one is a web workflow. One thing that we want though is we don't, since they're gonna live in their own backends, we don't actually want to keep the name, right? We don't want it to be called install file HTTP. We want it to just be called install file, because now it's gonna be like USB backend.install file. It's gonna do the right thing for USB. Or web backend.install file. It's going to do the right thing for web. It would be redundant to have the HTTP or web or whatever, USB, anything. It'd be redundant to have that in there. And furthermore, it would also make it so that we end up not having the exact same interface with both of these classes, right? They would have different function names to do the same thing, which would not be ideal, I don't think. So we want to gank that. We want to grab it and put it here, and then it's going to just be install file, and it's on a class now, so it's going to have to take self, and then for right now, the rest of that can hopefully just be the same. Install directory HTTP. Okay, same thing there. It's in a class. We need to do self, and we don't want it to be redundant with the name. Why is these red? Loose punctuation mark? I mean, it's part of the doc syntax, is it? So I don't know. Clean library name. That one I don't think matters, right? That's just taking it from uppercase to lowercase, removing the middle CircuitPython word. That one doesn't matter whether you're USB or web. Almost exclusively use numpad, but my number one is broken, so I need a new keyboard just because of that. I gotcha. I used to be more of a numpad user. The thing is, the Kinesis that I'm on now, it doesn't have a traditional numpad out to the side. It has a numpad that's kind of like a second layer on the right hand. You push another button and then that turns your right hand into a numpad. But I don't use it. I don't know which number is on which finger. I just don't use it ever really. So I don't even necessarily, not certain which button turns it on and off. Also, one of the buttons that's up there prompts my computer to want to like shut off or restart. I try not to push any of the buttons in the general area of the one that enables the number pad, unfortunately. Completion for install. What does that mean? Returns the list of available modules for the command line tab completion. Oh. Yeah, interesting. That's cool. I think that part does not matter, though. That's not going to be different for USB and web. Ensure latest bundle, same thing. That's not going to matter. Don't care about that. Extract metadata. Given an file path, let's fix that. Given a file path, return a dictionary containing metadata extracted from Dunder attributes found therein. Works with both Py and MPY files. For Python source files, such metadata assignments should be simple and single line like version and repo. For byte compiled, a brute force backtrack approach is used to find version and version number in the file. Okay, so this is trying to find the version. That's pretty straightforward. Does it? Ooh. Actually, hold on, right? This part doesn't support WebWorkflow, does it? Because that's saying extract metadata path. If path ends with Py, elif if it ends with MPY. So Python files, MPY files. If it's a Python file, set this to false. Open the file. Open a path as a local file called source file. Content equals source file read. Close the file. Dunder keyval, some kind of magic regex for match, re find all, magic regex content, result match. blah, blah, blah. But definitely open file, right? Local open file. It definitely has nothing in here that's like web or HTTP. Where does this get used? Git module, right, yes, I remember now. Oh, okay, it doesn't need the extra support for the web. It doesn't need extra logic for web because inside of here, which is a function that's doing web workflow, it's pulling the file and then creating a temporary file and then calling extract metadata on the temporary file. So the logic difference for web versus USB is actually higher up than this. This function doesn't care. It's going to be the same for both, actually, so that can stay. Find device. Yeah, regex. Regex will get you like that sometimes. Return the location on the file system for the connected CircuitPython device. This sounds like a USB only type one, right? If we're on Unix, do it this way. If we're on Windows, do it this way. I don't know what that means. Oh, nice. I don't think I've ever seen or considered the idea of just looping through all 26 drive letters before. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, this has different logic for Linux and Windows, but doesn't look like you. It seems like USB only, right? This is USB only. This isn't doing anything with web anywhere. So one question will be, do we put this on USB backend or do we leave it in the base? Get device path. Main. Calls get device path. Main's pretty important, I guess, right? Main, I think, is important. So get device path. If path file. So there is logic here for USB. Okay. So if a path was passed in, set our variable to the path that was passed in with our prefix, our protocol. Else, if a host was passed in, check to make sure a password is passed in to raise an error. If not, do some kind of web thing with the host. Verify the host name and address. Okay, make sure the IP actually answers or whatever, or it doesn't have to be an IP, but make sure the thing answers, I guess, and say invalid host if it doesn't. That's pretty cool. If it works, so if that succeeds, then we don't get the exception. We go to here, we set it to HTTP, we put in our password, and we get ready. Else, so this is down here, if the user did not pass a path or a host, which is actually, most of the time that will actually be the case. If they're doing web workflow, then they have to pass host because there's no way to know what the IP will be. If they are doing USB, most of the time they're not going to pass this unless they just have multiple devices or something, or they're trying to install it locally. This is going to be what happens most of the time. And this is definitely a USB only thing because the code we just saw would have handled web workflow. So the open question on find device is, do we want to put it on USB backend or do we want to just leave it here? For right now, I'm going to leave it. Could get up from circuitpython.local. I don't know if that works like that. I don't want to change more. Like, I'm already going to be changing a crud load of code, a lot of code. I don't want to change more than I have to. So I don't want to mess with changing the URL to use .local. I've had trouble with the circuitpython.local personally. I don't know if it's my network or if I always have trouble or if it's certain devices or if I was just doing it wrong. I didn't have it set up. I'm not sure, but It's not set up to do it with that URL right now, unless you pass it. That's the thing. Right now, you have to pass it, right? So if that URL works for you, then you can pass it with host. We could try to default to it, I suppose, but I don't want to change too much right now. I don't want to. I'm pretty sure we're going to break this thing pretty massively already. So I'm hoping to not have to try to fix it in too many different ways. Needs MDNS to work, but IP always works. MDNS, maybe that's what I don't have. Honestly, I'm not the networking. I'm not so strong on networking. I don't even really know what that is, DNMS, but I took a networking class years and years ago, more than a decade ago. Honestly, before I took most of the programming classes I've taken, but I don't recall it, and I kind of didn't really go to the network or the IT route or anything like that. All my knowledge is more so into programming specifically, computers. Find modules, device URL, a bundles list, extracts metadata from the connected device and available bundles, and returns a list of module instances representing modules on the device. Okay, this is building module objects, but it's building them. So see here, it says from connected device, but get device versions. Okay, get device versions. This needs to exist on our backends. And then I think we leave this here. I don't think we put this on. I don't think we put this on the two backends. What we'll do is we'll have a backend somewhere inside a main or whatever. We're going to decide once and for all whether we're using web or USB. We're going to create the proper backend for the one we're using. We're going to store that in a thing called like backend or self.backend or whatever. Not self, because we're not in a class, but we'll save it in backend, and then here we'll say backend dot. We're not quite ready for it just yet. I mean, we could. Should I go ahead and do it? I don't think I want to do it just yet, because then we're just going to have broken code while we're trying to refactor, although it looks like we got a bunch of broken code already. I guess because we started deleting functions, huh? Well, not deleting, but moving. Get bundle. So downloads, that doesn't matter for web versus USB. Same either way. In Mac, it's Bonjour service. Let me catch up here as well. You don't use it daily, you'll definitely forget what makes up different types of packets. Yeah, all the networking stuff has escaped me for sure. Bonjour service. Linux was AV8 HI tools package, I think, but MDNS is a local broadcast-based system. It doesn't always forward along messages in some routers, etc. Many OSs used to need it installed. I gotcha. Like a broadcast network thing that can just send stuff out to everybody who's listening, essentially, sounds like. Returns a dictionary of metadata from modules in the latest known release of the library bundle. Uses Python version rather than the compiled version. This shouldn't matter for the difference, right? We don't care about web or USB for that. Get bundles dict. Retrieve the dictionary from bundle config file JSON. Put the local dictionary in front so it gets priority. It's a dictionary of bundle string identifiers. Return the combined dictionaries from the config files. I gotta be honest, I read that whole thing. I don't really know what it's talking about, but it doesn't sound like it should matter for USB versus web. And I don't see any code in here that's like if USB or if HTTP or anything like that. So I don't think that one matters. Get bundles local dictionary, retrieve the local bundles. So this is similar, but it's local, I guess, instead of remote. Sounds like maybe this one is downloading. Get. Oh, well, no, this is just calling local, in fact. Bundle config items. Bundle config. Okay, it's basically names for the bundles, like prefixes or whatever. Okay, yeah, that won't matter for USB. Web, get bundles local, retrieve locals. Yeah, another one, doesn't matter, get bundles list. Retrieve a list of bundles from the config dictionary, no difference. Get CircuitPython version. This one I think will have a difference. Returns the version number of CircuitPython running on the board connected via device path along with the board ID. String device URL could either be a file or HTTP based. Return a tuple with the version string for CircuitPython and the board ID string. Oh, why are we so far indented? Okay, and then this one does not have, well, wait a minute. Okay, these are only web, right? Because those had HTTP in the name. Okay, so this is our first one actually that's going to be on both. One second. Buddy, door alone. Here. Come here. This cat. Well, he's getting into something. Sith magic. Probably that was talking about regex is my guess. Let's see. This is the first one that actually belongs on both. And then what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking this, making one here as well. We need to fix this to be self. And inside of USB backend, we are going to assume that we are this one. So we just do this like that. And we won't have the possibility of this anymore. It's kind of weird. And then technically the difference now is going to be USB backend device URL needs to actually only be a file. And it is weird to call it device URL at this point, but I also don't want to change the name just yet. Okay. Okay, we got a version HTTP, we We got a version file. Those are easy, nice and easy. We're gonna drag, whoops, cut. That was HTTP. We're gonna take HTTP off. We're gonna self. Okay. Cut. Paste. Self. Whoops. Mute. Because of watching your streams in workflow style, I figured out how to highlight, indent, and dedent. Nice, yeah, with like a tab and shift tab. Really comes in handy when the indentation is part of the syntax for sure. Yeah, totally agreed. Yeah, happy to hear you picked up that trick. Or it's not really a trick exactly, but happy to hear you picked that up. Yeah, for sure. Shift tab I use all the time. It just startled himself, jumped over his own tail. Oh, MDNS, I see, not the regex. MDNS. EVHI 0conf MDNS is magic. Device path. Okay, so then these, the one I think probably we have red here now because this is actually self also, right? Yeah, because now we actually have that there. Yeah. Okay, good. Very, very good. Okay. Whoa, what is this? Okay, that was weird. I don't know what that was. Like a pop-out box or something going on there. What are you getting into now, please, buddy? Move one of your boys. Here. Okay, sorry. Trying to eat like a styrofoam liner thing. It's not really what cats should be doing. Can test on Windows, pulling the repo now. Nice, I appreciate it, Dexter. Okay, backend. Those are fixed now, so we're doing good. Knocking out the red there. And then, yeah, these ones actually can keep, I guess, these ones can keep the name since they are specific. And since this is like the public one right here, right? This is the one that outside code should call. And then it's going to turn around and call the private one. And I don't like the idea of having them have the exact same name save for the leading underscore, right? I don't think that's the best. So in this case, I do think it makes sense actually to keep the, somehow we managed to get back to this. I don't know what this is. Get Circup version, that's not going to be a difference, right? Don't matter there. It's not actually, what are all these? Oh my goodness, what have I done? Why are these like this? That's how I was getting these boxes, but I don't know what this is for. Is it to do with this? That is weird. I don't know about those triangles. Get dependencies. Returns a list of other CircuitPython libraries. I feel like there should be more here. There should be something, right? List of other CircuitPython libraries that are dependencies for these libraries? Library, yeah. Required by an inputted list of libraries. From the input? From the given? From required by the given list of libraries. don't know if inputted is really a word. It is, I don't really want to use it. If libname rl skipping, this doesn't look like it does anything with, there's no difference for web versus USB, because this is basically, this is looking at the bundles effectively, right? You're giving it a list of libraries and then it's looking inside the bundles to determine what do those list of libraries you gave it actually require. So it's building out the rest of the dependencies based on your list. And that behaves the same whether it's web or USB. Now, where the difference would be is wherever this list here gets generated, that would be different. What is the star? That's like destructor in the arguments there. I don't actually know what that does at the top of my head. Get Circup dependencies. Okay, this is getting this is the new stuff. I worked on this last week or the week before. This is getting Circup dependencies out of the TOML file. Again, that's same though. There's no difference between web and USB. Get device versions. This one should have a difference, right? Yeah, okay. So get device versions. We're going to take that, cut it. We're going to put one on each. Get device version. The USB backend will be this. And the web, whoops, will be the top one. Get modules, device URL, get a dictionary containing metadata about all the Python modules found in the referenced path. And this does have a difference in the way it works. So we're going to cut that, and basically the same thing that we did on the last one, we're going to paste it into both and change it so that each one is hard-coded for its own type. And we have red, probably because we need self right there. And here. And here. A bunch more places. And then we're gonna do this one next. Probably. Nope, actually it's not. I don't know where that is. It must be further. Oh, there's get module, so it's probably under that. Let's do this. Let's keep going though. Get latest release from URL. Find the tag name of the latest release using HTTP head and decoding the redirect. I think this is for the bundle. Latest release from URL. I mean, I guess this could be used on any repo, but I think the thing that it does get used on is probably the bundle repos. Bundle, yeah. Bundle has latest tag, which calls Okay. Shit, I mean, does this it gets used from more places too, though? Oh, interesting. That's getting a version of CircuitPython. Okay, yeah. I think there is no difference, though, for USB and web, so I think we just leave this at the root level. Let's do some cleanup here again. What is it that I'm testing? Ideally, just to see if the USB workflow works. The normal workflow would be the part that I would say I'm least confident in on Windows specifically. So plug in a normal USB storage style device and then do like Circup install either --auto or Circup install a specific, display text or whatever library you want. Gonna take off, brain's tired, have a great night. Yep, take it easy, Ginger Devin. I will see you around next time. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you can get some rest. Let's see. Get modules 8. Okay, so that one is web. Get a dictionary containing metadata about all the Python modules found using the referenced URL. Yeah, basic auth. Anything that's using basic auth, like that's a definite telltale that it's hitting the web workflow, I think, because basic auth is not used by much in the sort of wider world of the internet anymore, but it is used by the web workflow. And that makes self here, which means this here is going to be self dot. Cool. So then we should have a get modules file somewhere. We have this one, modules http dir mods. So that one is a web one, but I'm going to leave it for a second. Where is our file? I want to find our get. Kind of want to find this one and move it in so that we are kind of like, there it is. Okay, so that we're kind of like equally having the same stuff in each one as we go here. No, this just feels like the right way to go about it to my brain. Let's see. So now that's going to be a self dot, no self comma, then that's going to be a self dot right there. Why am I turned? I'm like at this weird angle here. Okay. Okay. All right. And now we've got these two. All right, my apologies. I will be right back. I've got to run to the restroom. I will not make it much longer. BRB. Okay. So these are both HTTP, right? They both say HTTP. This is weird because there aren't USB analogous ones, seemingly, that I saw so far. Okay. Self onto both of those. New device is going to install Adafruit bitmap font. Nice, thank you. Okay, that is weird. Why do we not have USB ones of those? That part's weird. I guess because Git modules file doesn't have those. It just has all this logic here. Whereas Get module modules with an S, HTTP, that one actually does just call. Okay, that's why those exist. This cat, I swear to goodness with this cat sometimes. What he's getting into now, but I hear him getting into something. Lord help us all. Okay. Don't know what it was, but he knew he wasn't supposed to be, because as soon as I got halfway to the place where he was, he came shooting out of there. Not sure why that click-through worked. I wasn't holding control, which is usually how you click through in PyCharm is control and then click. I don't know why it actually went through. Pragma no cover. I don't know what that's about. Finds a connected device, installs a given module name if it's available in the current module bundle, and it's not already installed on the device. There's no check for version. Okay, I think that's telling you, like, if you already have an old version, Circup doesn't install the new version. Is that true, though? I think, does it? I don't know. I thought it did, but I could be wrong. Okay, if no name, see, this is like, okay, install module. It's not quite main, but this is very high level because we do have, like, we're actually into click land instead of helper function land. So we're higher level than we have been most of this time. We do have different logic here. So what we're gonna have is install module is gonna be on both. This one is USB, and this one is web. And then in the logic here, so if name, all that's the same. I will say one downside to the way this code is now structured is we do have a decent chunk of kind of copy-pasted code, honestly. It might be worth making a backend, a class backend that contains some of the logic, any of the logic that's the same for both. And then it would call down into the... Not exactly sure how to do that always, though. Because, like, here we have some stuff to do before the split in logic. Here's our split in logic in this one. We have some stuff to do before it. We have some stuff to do after it. If it's a superclass, it's kind of always going to come before or after, right? I don't know how to do, like, some superclass before and then some superclass after. We'd have to then, like, split it into two other functions. Okay, for now I think we're going to leave it and just do the style we have. So this is HTTP. Since we don't need else here. Actually don't need this check either. So we're just going to assume HTTP and do this stuff. How's it going, Gary T? Thanks for hanging out, my friend. Hope you're having a good evening. or whatever time of day it is for you. Sorry, it's evening for me, but. There we go. Yeah, see, this one is a lot of reused code, honestly. Do not necessarily think that that is the best. Let's see, what do we do before? If not name, elif, name in mod names. Grab device modules to check if it's already installed. If name in device modules, echo already installed, return. Okay. So the before part, oh, but we're still inside LF. LF name in mod names. Okay, I'm gonna leave this for now, I think. It might be worth a second pass at some point to try to make an extra layer in the hierarchy, basically. So we would have a backend class that can hold the code that is the same for both. But kind of back to what I was talking about before, where I don't want to change. I want to change as little as I can because I already know I'm going to be changing a lot. So I'd rather not do it all at once if I can. I'd rather get to a halfway point and have the tool actually work as expected and then try to refactor further from there. So this is another one where it's going to be on both. But then when we're on the USB one, we will no longer have this. This one where you get rid of the else block entirely, and then we don't need the if either. And we will say self. I'm gonna do a self here as well. Not supported URL scheme. I did pip install -e Circup PHPR checkout 163 -e Circup. pip install -e dot, maybe? Are you sure you did Circup instead of dot? If you did actual pip install -e Circup, I think it will still come from PyPy, not the local one, but I'm not sure. HPR checkout, so that will get you to the right branch for sure. And then Circup install Adafruit font, and then it says no supported URL scheme. Okay. So yeah, it's broken on Windows. Okay, thank you for testing. Let me leave a comment. Or if you wouldn't mind, will you leave a comment on the thing here with just a copy paste of that error? Not supported URL scheme. Most likely that's a bug in the way it's trying to find the path to the file. I'm surprised it doesn't have the file : / bug in it. If install, okay. Okay, /circup, and then that will work because yeah, Circup is like that. I do think you can leave the /circup off. I think you can do pip install -e and then space dot, and if you, as long as you're in that directory, which you must be for the /circup to work as well, it will work. That's what I was doing last week. -e was the new thing I learned last week, which is super cool. Hug report again to Scott for that. Why are these yellow? Unresolved. Okay, doesn't exist yet. Oh, I changed them. That's right, actually. They do exist, but they're no longer HTTP. Okay. Yeah, I think actually we should... I think actually we want to put this back. Because this is basically the same as like this other one here where it does not actually exist for the other one. While it is redundant, the main concern I had was about the interface, having the functions have the same names. But the thing is, there is not a analogous function to this. The analogous function is one level higher. Is in USB backend, it doesn't call any other install anything. It just does shutil to copy stuff. Whereas in web, install module py is actually calling these other ones. So there's no analogous. And since we did it that way, keeping the HTTP in the name for the other one, I think we should do it this one too. Post it. Thank you. Yeah, thanks again for testing that out. Yeah, I'm really glad that I didn't just blow through this and get it working on Linux and totally entirely forget to test Windows and then break it for everyone who uses Windows, which is probably a lot of people. Okay, I think I copied instead of cut, didn't I? Because this is install module py, and we just put that in both of these. Oh, no. MPY versus pi. Okay, so yeah, we'll do the same thing here. We're going to have cut that. And this is USB. Yeah, so we will... doing the else. Unexpected types. I think that's actually because of this, right? I guess I haven't tested it since I merged. It's possible my merge from main broke it. I should have probably tested it before I started doing this refactoring. Great way to start the evening, watching 10 Minutes Genius at work. Well, that's very kind of you. I don't know that I would call it genius necessarily myself, but doing some refactoring. I'm glad that's enjoyable to watch as well. Install module pi. Okay, so that one's going to do our copies, and then the other one, which I did already cut this, so we're just going to come up here and paste. Just heard a strange jingle that I do not recognize. Must have only heard part of it. Wait, it wasn't a Twitch thing, was it? I accidentally didn't pay attention to that last time. No, I don't think so. I don't know which phone it would be. And this is web. We're going to do the if rather than the else, and we are going to just get rid of the condition. Self, it's mad about this also. Let's do this. Slowly but surely we're working our way through this. Ooh, I probably should have cut that with, assuming that went on this, but I don't actually know. Pylent is probably going to be so mad about this, our code reuse. Libraries from imports. Parse the given CodePy file and return the imported libraries. Okay, so yeah, this does have a using WebWorkflow. Okay. USB first, libraries from imports. So we no longer need using WebWorkflow because we're only caring about USB here. So everything used to generate this I'm gonna comment this right now because we're gonna want this logic somewhere. Inside main or somewhere, we are gonna want this logic. Because somewhere there has to be code to decide which backend to instantiate and use. And that's where we will use this. And I want to make sure I don't lose that chunk of code and have to rewrite it. Wait. Okay, yeah, so we actually just delete all of this. Okay. As long as context is not none, actually that can go away as well because we no longer have this, right? Which is the only thing inside of there. That's because of this we need to keep. Okay. Okay, that's our USB one. And then libraries from imports. So this one, we don't really need the condition anymore because we're hard coding to true. So the way we're doing it is just this. And that will set CodePy equal to something, and then the rest of this code will operate on CodePy. And so that's actually another part, this whole chunk here, this would actually be very easy to refactor the reuse out of, as opposed to the part before, which was a little bit trickier looking. But again, though, I am going to save the cutting of the duplicates for a second pass instead of trying to do it all at once. Libraries from requirements. Clean up supplied requirements text and turn it into a tuple of CircuitPython libraries. Doesn't sound like it should matter for web and USB, right? Yeah, no, this is all... We just got a requirements text from wherever we got it from. Really, we got it from in the bundle, not even the device. So save local bundles. That doesn't matter about USB and web. Tags data load. Load the list of version tags of the bundles on disk. Return a dictionary of tags indexed by bundle identifier / keys. Okay. I don't think that matters. That should be the same for both, right? Because we're using the same bundles for both. So tags data save tag. Well, let's read what it does. My first inclination is I'd love a better name for this. Tags data save tag. Add or change the saved tag value for a bundle. Key and tag. Add or change the saved tag value for a bundle. I don't know what that means. I mean, tag, I'm pretty sure is like the version, right? Simver, like 3.1.2 or whatever, but I don't really get what this is doing. Command line, command definition, CLI. Okay, main right here, this is where we're gonna want our somewhere inside main here, I think is where we're gonna want our if using like our using WebWorkflow, the setting up the Boolean variable, and then if using WebWorkflow, create this backend, you know, web, otherwise create USB backend. And then we'll be calling get CircuitPython version on our backend once we have it. How does it get into the command? Because the other thing we'll need to do somehow is we need to pass our backend. We need to pass it? Maybe we can just save it in a variable. Okay, this was our one where we had backend dot. Oh boy. So I guess it's click that's responsible for getting us from main into some other function. Like getting us into freeze, for instance, or into this. Or into this one. Because in here is another place where we're going to need to have the backend. Rick is a maze of twisty passages, at least to me. Yeah. I don't know if we can maybe add something to context. I feel like that's probably a good way to go if it's possible. If we could create our backend in main and then add it onto context, then it would appear inside of the context that's in here, and then we'd be able to just use it with like context.backend or whatever it ends up being stored as. Whoa. Because like a lot of these, almost all of these where it's red here, these are all going to be like backend dot. Oh. Oh. Wait, where are these at? Oh, okay. They're the next two. I was going to say, like, why did we not pass those yet? Okay. Okay, so yeah, it's going to call, this one we want to call backend dot uninstall. And this one will actually be one where we're going to drop the suffixes here, the HTTP in the file. We're just going to have underscore uninstall. It's the same arguments. So it'll be the same name. It'll be the same, interface, the same API. And then inside of here, it's just going to call backend.uninstall, and it's going to pass what it wants. Too far. Okay. Oop. It's kind of weird that these are way down here, intermixed with the click code. I mean, they're right next to uninstall, which I guess makes sense, but it's kind of weird because all the other helper functions were elsewhere. Way up above the CLI section. Okay. I never actually tested freeze on the WebWorkflow. I guess it should work the same though. Because get modules is what it was calling. Should work the same, so get bundles list. Expected type bundle, got list bundle. Alright, yeah, I gotta run to the restroom again, sorry, BRB. Okay. Made it to the end. We found main. Bundle add, bundle remove, bundle show. All of those are for managing bundles. They don't have any, shouldn't be any difference. Update. So update calls module.update. Which calls either update HTTP or update file. So that is tricky. How so? So the thing is, these functions are on the backend, the web backend. This is the part where it's a bit tricky because the USB backend doesn't actually call other functions. And we're inside the module object here. Buddy. What is it about cats that makes them want to play with not cat toys, but instead people things? In your experience, has refactoring ever been more time consuming than coding from scratch? I guess it depends on the size of the program. No. Good question. In my experience, has refactoring ever been more time consuming than rewriting from scratch? Probably yes. Like, if you mean in my entire experience, have I ever spent more, ever, like even once? I'm sure I probably have. Um, yeah. I don't like, my instinct is that it's not very often. My instinct is that typically when I do refactor, if I choose to work from what I have instead of throwing it away and starting fresh, I think it's more typical that I spend less time than I would if I threw it away, but I think I'm also biased because the truth is I'm inclined, I am, my subconscious, just what I will do by default is typically not throw it away and start from scratch. I am biased towards keep what I have and try to make it into what I want. Even to the point where, like, maybe in the cases where it would be faster or better for other reasons to just throw it away, sometimes I'm probably inclined not to, just because it's how I am and how I operate and how I have always done it. In this case in particular, though, I would not call myself familiar enough with the code to be able to write it from scratch. So we had to basically Frankenstein what we had instead. I wouldn't want to rewrite all of this. I doubt I could do it in anywhere near the same amount of time, but also I'm not sure I could even do it at all and make it work. So I'm not sure what to do about the module problem. I'm kind of thinking we just maybe this is one place where we don't actually do it as a backend thing. Instead, like these aren't used anywhere else, are they? They are. Ugh. Hmm. Hmm. So, yeah, I don't know what we do about this one actually. So we have these functions on module. Module has update. Module dot update is then wanting to call either update HTTP or update file. Update file, everything's groovy, no problems. We're good to go on update file. Update HTTP, however, is wanting to call install file HTTP and install dir HTTP, but we moved both of those to the backend class, the web backend class. But because we're inside a module here, we don't have context. So my earlier idea of trying to attach our backend onto the context and then being able to access it by saying context.backend or whatever, that is not gonna work here because we're not getting past the context currently, at least. So I don't know where to move these, basically. The trouble I'm in now is I don't know where to put these functions so that they can be called from inside here, ultimately inside module.update, but also so that they can still be called inside of our backends, because backend.install module mpy is trying to call this for the web backend, and the other one is probably inside of here. And the dir ones are right above, in fact. So we need to be able to call them from inside of the backend, inside of the web backend's other functions. We also need to be able to call them from inside of the module. They really feel like they should belong to the backend, right? Because they are interacting with the web device. Or, I mean, there's one each, right? Really, they feel like they should be split. It feels like update HTTP, this should belong to the web backend, and update file should belong to the USB backend. But if we put them on the backend, how do we get access to them inside of an instance of module? So inside of find modules, we get a device URL and a bundles list. Truthfully, I'm not sure what my plan to get the backend here was either, honestly, because we don't have a context here either. We could, here we would have a context, so we could pass context. And then all the places where we use this, we could go and update them to pass context. And then we'd be able to get backend from context. I'm a little stuck on our module class problem, though. Gets further, dies trying to read the Python version from boot out. Oh, okay. Okay, you modified the code inside of find device or whatever that function is, it looks like. Okay. And then that made it get a bit further, but still died when it tried to go inside boot out and read the version. Oops. This one is another function that feels a bit weird. It's just randomly in the middle of all the click CLI stuff. If I modify context right here, will it when I'm inside of the other functions, will the context that got passed to me contain the modifications that I made to it right here? The problem is I can't run this, right? This code is all sorts of wrecked. We can't run it. We have red everywhere. Okay, we're gonna commit. Those aren't problems. Those are to-dos. To-dos aren't problems necessarily. I'm gonna go back to WebWorkflow. Then I want to test this. So inside of main, if we modify context, first of all, can I paste this? Yeah, if we modify context, well, let's make sure we're not going to clobber anything. So mine, I think I might already have it on the -e thing, so I think it will actually already be using this modified one. So I need to get a device plugged in. This device is USB. I must have been wrong. Okay, there we go. Context is a click core.context object, and it has all of these things. It does not have a thing called using web workflow. Meta, maybe we should put it there. Let's do a quick search. Click plus add variables to context. Add. It's not really a variable though, maybe, I guess. So I'm not talking about like arguments, like command line arguments. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about programmatically, kind of adding a field to the object inside main and then having it in the other one. Guess we could try params. We could put it in there, I suppose. It's basically doing that. Object. So they're doing context.object, obj. The dictionary. So if we go ctx obj using web workflow equals using web workflow, can we then access it from inside of install? Print does that work? Yes. Okay, so we can modify object, obj. Context.obj, we can put new stuff on there, and it will get passed around to our other places. So the real stuff that we would want to put on there is the backend. Roll back all of this to get rid of those changes. We're going to go back to our actual branch. Inside of main, we're going to do that using web workflow. And then we're going to say, so we don't really, so what I tested it with was adding the Boolean using web workflow. I'm actually out of coffee. I shouldn't be drinking coffee this late anyway, truthfully. What we really want to do it with, though, is with our backend. So what we want to say is if we are using web workflow, then context.object backend is equal to a new web backend. Else it's going to be a USB backend. Backend? Recursive backend action. And then inside of install, we get context. Oh boy. Maybe we want to have that too. Maybe we want to have the Boolean too. I think we want the Boolean too. Because there is actually that other, that's a different thing it's doing there. It's figuring out the auto file, which does work differently and is not part of the backend, but maybe it should be. Something to be said for maybe adding that to the backend, I guess. Like maybe we could have backend dot get default auto file. No, that's wrong though. This is not the default one. This is whatever one they passed. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe something in here should be coming from the backend, but I'm not sure. Honestly, my brain's starting to get a bit fried. We're probably going to wrap it up here before too long. This part I know though, that's here. Libraries from imports, so that one is on the backend. So that's going to be context object backend. Same thing here. Honestly, a bunch of these are going to be that. Oops. It installs tuple. Install module. Yeah, probably this does need to be associated with a backend because when it comes time to do Bluetooth, we would have logic for Bluetooth also probably. Unless it happens to be the same as one of the others, which would actually be pretty convenient. Okay, that's actually all the red that's in install. Not bad. Okay, what is this? This is inside main. Yeah, and so here we could, well, we still need to access our backend like this because we don't save it any other way. Okay, this is no longer like this. It's actually, well, I have it pasted, I think. You should maybe make uninstall not private with deleting underscore. Get device versions. We do still have that module problem I was worried about earlier. Oh, uh-oh, here we have another weird one too, because here we don't have a context. I can get module file. How do I do this? This is on the USB backend. Module. Returns a dictionary of the metadata from modules in the latest known release of the library bundle. Yep, modules file. Get a dictionary containing metadata about all Python modules found in the referenced file system path. I feel like this should be called like get metadata from file, maybe, or get file metadata or something. It says get modules, but it returns a dictionary containing metadata. Or get modules file, but still it returns a dictionary containing metadata, not a file or a module. Yeah, I'm misinterpreting it. Okay. Honestly, a bunch of the code is starting to all run together to me. So I think I'm gonna stop for now there. Obviously, it's not ready to like try it yet because we still have a bunch of syntax errors. Mostly it's like functions that don't exist. Like we either need to add self or we need to resolve that weirdness with the module and figure out how we're gonna access that function from there. There aren't too many spots left, but there are a few. Yeah, so I need to work that out. And then once that's done, we'd be ready to actually try. USB backend. Oh, okay. Those need, I think those just need self, actually. Got one more real quick. Yeah. This one's a tricky one. We need to supply a backend, but we don't have a context, so we're gonna have to figure that out. Same thing here. The way it's written right now, we would need a backend. We don't have one or a context, so we need to figure out how to get one to here. This one just needs self, I think. Yeah, this is just self. That's easy. Thank you, Tim. Yeah, for sure. Thanks for hanging out. Love the factory. Hope you have a nice night. All right. I'll take off for now. For anybody interested in some more CircuitPython action, I will be back in the morning tomorrow over on my own channel, FoamyGuy_Twitch and FoamyGuy on YouTube. I'll drop links in the live broadcast chat when I'm about to get started. The plan right now, I think, is tomorrow morning I'm going to work on a Matrix Portal project. So if you're interested in Matrix Portal S3, I'm going to make a little scrolling project with some stuff that scrolls past the screen. So if you're interested in a sort of less deep, this is quite deep dive into Circup right here. If you're interested in something not quite so deep and just a for fun project on a Matrix Portal, come back tomorrow morning and check out the stream then. Otherwise, I'll just say have a good night. Thanks for hanging out. Have a good weekend and all that stuff. Hope you all have fun. And yeah, I'll catch you next time. I will be back next week for deep dive as well. That's the current plan, is for me to do next week as well. And I'm not set on the following weeks, but basically I'll keep going as long as Scott is unavailable on Fridays. I don't have much coming up on Fridays, so I'll be here until he is ready to return, and I don't know when that will be. So I'll see you next week for that. I'll see you tomorrow morning if you want to join me for the other stream where we will play with the Matrix Portal. And I will bid you farewell and say thanks again for hanging out to everybody else.